Hello, it's Mrs. Rowe, and I'm here today to read to you the story Feathers for Lunch by Lois Ehlert. You might be able to hear my cat looking for some birds. Feathers for Lunch. Uh-oh, the door's left open, just a crack. My cat is out, and he won't come back. He's looking for lunch, something new. And there's an American robin. A spicy treat for today's menu. And there's a blue jay. His food in a can is tame and mild. And there's a northern cardinal and the yellow forsythia bush that blooms in the spring. And some bleeding heart flowers. So he's gone out for something wild. There's a house wren and some apple tree blossoms. He's snooping and sneaking. Those birds sure look good. And there's a red-headed woodpecker tapping at the tree. If he could catch one, he'd eat it. He would. There's a red-winged blackbird. They live around our school. You might be able to see one. But when his bell jingles, birds call a loud warning. And there's a northern oriole and some purple lilac bushes. Big cat got out early this morning. Those are some mourning doves. But cats can't fly and they can't soar. And there's a northern flicker. And birds know what their wings are for. And there's a little ruby-throated hummingbird flying away. So he keeps prowling, hoping to munch. And there's a little house sparrow and a little American goldfinch. But all he catches are feathers for lunch. And then these are the birds in the book. So it says, the lunch that got away. And right here is the northern cardinal. And that's one of the choices for the clay project. The northern cardinal eats seeds, insects, small fruits, and grains. It lives in woodland edges, thickets, gardens, and parks. And it lives in eastern United States and Arizona. There's the northern oriole, the orange guy. I don't have a stencil for that, but it looks a lot like the robin. You could paint it like an oriole. That eats insects, fruits, and seeds. It lives in the open woodlands and suburban, which means sort of like neighborhoods, shade trees, river groves, and parks. And it lives throughout the United States and southern Canada. There's the red-winged blackbird. I don't have a stencil for that one either, but you could also use the robin stencil. And they eat insects, small fruit, seeds, grains, and small aquatic life. They live in marshes, hayfields, pastures, orchards, yards, and they live it throughout the United States and Canada. And I see a lot by our school. On this side, we have the blue jay. And the blue jay eats almost anything edible. I like the blue jays. They eat lots of the seeds in my backyard. They live in suburban woodlands, gardens, towns, and parks. And they live in eastern United States and central and eastern Canada. And I do have a stencil for the blue jay. I also have the robin stencil. It eats insects, earthworms, snails, grubs, berries, and seeds. And it lives in cities, towns, farmlands, forests, gardens, backyards, and lawns. and it lives throughout the United States and Canada. There's the mourning dove. It's related to the pigeon and the dove, the white dove. It eats seeds, grains, and fruits. It lives in woodlands, gardens, and parks, and also throughout the United States and southern Canada. On the next page, we have the ruby-throated hummingbird. I do not have a stencil for that. I think its beak would break off if we made that in clay, but they're super cute. Their food is flower nectar, tree sap, and small insects and spiders. They live near flowers, gardens, woodland edges, orchards, and parks. And they also live in eastern United States and eastern Canada. There's the American goldfinch. I don't have a stencil for that, but I do have the sparrow, and their bodies look the same. The goldfinch eats thistle seeds, insects, small fruits, and it lives near thistle patches, roadsides, open woods, orchards, gardens, and parks. And it lives throughout the United States and southern Canada. The house sparrow eats almost anything edible. I do have a stencil for that. It lives in farmlands, cities, towns, and yards, and it also lives throughout the United States and Canada. There's the little house wren. I do not have a stencil for that, but it looks a little like the nuthatch, which I have a stencil of. The nuthatch is not in this book. It eats insects and spiders. It lives in open woods, thickets, farmlands, towns, gardens, parks, and orchards. And it lives throughout most of the United States, except some of the southern areas. So it must not like the warm weather. And then on this side, we've got the northern flicker, which I don't have a stencil for, but I do have a woodpecker stencil, and it has a similar body. It eats insects and berries, and it lives in open woodlands, farms, towns, and parks. And it lives throughout the United States and Canada. And last but not least, we've got the red-headed woodpecker. The stencil I have is a downy woodpecker, which just has a little red patch here instead of a full red head, but you could make your woodpecker look however you want. So the red-headed woodpecker eats insects, berries, sap, and acorns. It lives in farmlands, orchards, wooded swamps, towns, gardens, and parks. And it also lives in the central and eastern United States and Canada. And I'm pretty sure all of these birds can be found in Maine, at least in the summertime, and some of them year-round. So I hope you got some ideas from the story and learned a little bit about birds from your area. Have a great day.